back to how to use craft as a creative way to share the gospel. Now today I want to show you how you can prepare for a evangelistic craft meeting. So this is something that you would need. So I'm going to tell you a few things that you would need in order to start this party. Now first of all, mentally, I want to encourage you that you have to remember what we're doing here. We're not just teaching craft, and that is just our secondary motive here. Ultimate goal is to share the gospel with someone. So our goal is to love the people and really share the gospel with them, and that's the whole craft ministry is about. It's not just about doing craft. So our mentally, we must keep this in mind, the eternal perspective that we're trying to pray as you lead this group, that you're actually ultimately to share the gospel with someone. So that's very important, number one. Number two, spiritually, you have to prepare spiritually. I remember years ago, I was running a group with a group of Bible study with a group of Buddhist people in our midst. So we were trying to share the gospel with them. But at that time, my faith was very green. I was a very new Christian, so I had no idea about what is about spiritual warfare. So I still remember I didn't really pray for these people or pray for myself. And I still remember that times at night I will feel the spiritual oppressions from the two worlds. And that was very vivid. And ever since then I realized, you know what, when you share the gospel with someone, it's not just about a physical world that we're seeing. Sometimes it's a spiritual world. So pray for yourself for protection from God. And also pray for His love so people can experience your love that is coming from Jesus, that they know you care because you care about them and not just trying to shove the gospel to them. So they want you to listen, and sometimes you might need to build relationship with them first instead of sharing with them at the very first session. So spiritually pray and ask God, and ask God to give you wisdom as well, and not only give you love, give you protection, but also give you wisdom to run this craft ministry. To be honest with you, a lot of times I feel stuck. I have no ideas, and I pray, God, give me wisdom and ideas so I can run this ministry. And a lot of times I find that out of my own strength I cannot do this. And finally, I want you to remember, you can only bear fruits if you stay in Jesus. And if we're detached from Jesus, we cannot bear much fruits. And there are times in my life I run this ministry, God has been opening many opportunities for me, and I've taught in many places, in different mission agencies, moms groups, ESL classes, shelters, church outreach, and God just been using this ministry to teach me so much. But after I've done it for a while, honestly, sometimes I kind of lost my focus too. I kind of run it as a program, and sometimes I might just rely on my own strength. And that was a time when I felt so, wow, this is so draining. There's no more joy in me. And there was not much fruits and not much opportunities. So I find that, God really taught me through, I run this ministry, how He started this ministry, and I just really joined Him. And I realized it's only by Him that I can do all this. So remember, this is His ministry, not your ministry. And only by His grace He will open doors for you to share and use this wonderful tool to share the gospel with someone. So please remember that. So now we talked about mentally, we have to know that, we're ultimately, our goal is to share the gospel with someone. Spiritually, prepare ourselves, pray for spiritual protection, His wisdom and His creativity. And remember, only rely on Him that you can bear much fruits in doing this ministry. So number 3, physically, how do we prepare physically? Now, there are a few things you can prepare. First of all, how do you get those ideas? Now, I'm a craft dummies, and I've learned all this because of my own interest. So I search a lot of Pinterest, YouTubes, and I learn a lot from there. So if you're already very creative, you don't have to do craft, basically. If you're good with cooking or other things, or you like to read, you can start your own book club. And today I'm just showing you an idea so you can start your own lesson. So search ideas online, something that interests you. You might like to do cards or paint or whatever. You can really start your own lesson. And make sure when you start a session, when you actually start a session, there are a few things you have to remember. First, you must be there early. You have to be there at least 30 minutes early to make sure you set up everything. The last thing you want is people feel like, wow, you're rushing, you're so hurt, like rushing through all this. And then honestly, you need to be there early, not only to set up, but also pray and prepare your hearts for this. Okay, and then the next thing you need to do once you get there, and usually I start the party by covering my material, because I find that over time I learned my lesson. If I don't cover my material, people will start looking at all my stuff, and I had lost my opportunity to gain their attention. That I failed to gain the attention to listen to my testimony, and that's the most important thing. Is I want to share my testimony before I teach the craft. So if you look at my other video, lesson number 2, which talks about the 3 steps to run an evangelistic craft ministry. The 3 steps is first, ask a question, and second is to share how you believe, and C is where you teach the craft. So the 3 steps was A, ask a icebreaker question, B is believe, tell people how you believe, and C is you teach the craft. So ask a question, I would ask, what makes your life significant? Usually I would ask a question like that. So then I would let everybody share, and I would let everybody share the names, and then I would then tell my story. So if you want to know the detail, please go back to lesson number 2 that has a more in-depth detail in that video that tell you exactly what I said in each segment. And then B, I tell them how I believe, and C, I will then teach the craft. So now you notice that I have a piece of cloth here. This is step number 3, when I would cover all my material, as I told you before. Then I would when I teach the craft, then I would open up my cloth and show them what I have. I can show you some basic materials that you need for the evangelistic craft meeting. And each craft is different, so you need different things. But I'm going to show you the basic things you need. First of all, you need scissor, a very sharp scissor that can cut fabric, or just sharp enough, to cut things. And then a plier. This is optional, but this is useful when it comes to open up the jump rings and earrings and all that. And then next, I use clasps in most of my videos. If you notice, I have a lot of craft there that uses the clasps. So you can order it online, and if you go to my tassel earrings, I attach a link that how to order these materials. And the jump rings is 8mm jump rings, and the ear hooks, and a cutter, and glue. If you are doing the origami earrings, which is in one of my videos, that you will need this. So the materials here is really based on what you're teaching. If you're doing tassel, then you need threads. If you're doing duct tape, then you need duct tape. So all this are like variations. So you have many variations. Depends on what craft you're teaching. But usually I also include either a gospel package with extra material. I may pack 1 pair of earring material to give to people who come, and put a Bible tract in it. Because I find it sometimes if I didn't do a good job explaining the gospel clearly, at least I can bring something home. Now, but depends on which country you're ministering to, okay? So if a country that is very sensitive, that is dangerous to leave Bible tracts with someone, of course you will not do that, okay? So it depends on your audiences, on the people that you serve. So pray for wisdom, okay? How much you can share with them, and how much you can leave stuff with them. So pray for the wisdom. And then the next one, I would another thing I would do as an alternative is I would give them a bracelet. This is the 4 bracelet. I encourage you to go to this website. It's called www.the4.sg, and this is a wonderful gospel tool we have in Singapore, and it's a ministry by Campus Crusade Singapore here. Basically, they have used the 4 spiritual laws and put it in a gospel bracelet instead. So on the bracelet, there are 4 basic symbols. which is also the symbols that I've used for my lesson number 2, the 4 basic symbols. So instead of sometimes I give it to them, I will share the 4 basic symbols in my before I teach the craft. So this pamphlet, it gives you a very detailed instructions of each symbols and also a sinner prayer, so it's very easy to follow. So these are the things that you will need for the to prepare physically for this craft session. So at the end, usually I would sometimes depends on the crowd, I would put on a music and I would let them have a fashion show and walk around and just have fun, so they can showcase what they made. And usually depends on the crowds that you have, and I have groups that culture that I serve in, the Filipino culture especially, they're so fun and they actually went all out and really dance and showcase the earrings. So it was a fun time. So it depends on your crowd, and I think it's quite fun to take pictures and just to bring a happy atmosphere that, you know, Christians can be fun too. You know, we're not always boring and we have so much to celebrate for, so much to be thankful for. And I hope that, you know, when you share your testimony, that God will give you a very supernatural joy. Pray for this joy that coming from you and excitement. And sometimes I find that if you've been a Christian for some time, that you kind of lost the awe of sharing your own testimony. And remember, your smile is the number 1 step to show people God's love. Your smile, your kindness. So when you run this meeting, I hope that you're full of joy, full of excitement, full of passion. Ask God for this passion that are coming from Him. When you share your story, it is a miracle by itself how God has changed you. And sometimes we just lost the awe of it. So lastly, a few more tips. When you share your testimony, you would do before and how. Before you become a Christian, what was your values? What, you know, kind of drives your life, your attitude. And then when you share, the second thing you can do when you share your testimony is before Christ, and then how you become a Christian, how you come to know Jesus. And that's also when I would attach with the gospel message in it. So how I came to know Christ, and I will also share what I know about the gospel. So I will also share here. And then 3 is after, what changed in your life? What is one thing or few things that have changed in your life? Your perspective of life, or your attitudes, your values. So when you share the testimony, you have 3 things. 1, before Christ, what was your attitude and what drives you? B is how did you become a Christian? What changed you? A person changed you, an event or a Bible study or whatever that changed your life. And at that time, I will also share the gospel message, with which I will use the 4 symbols. And number 3 is after you become a Christian, what it is, you know, what has changed in your life, your attitude, your values. And make sure your testimony shouldn't be too long. It should be 5 minutes to 10 minutes. So you have to write it down and make it very concise. And make sure you don't use a lot of church jargons or terminologies, because that really throws people off. They don't know what you're talking about. Only church people knows what you're talking about. So make sure you go back and share with someone, share with your friends, and ask them, hey, is this good enough? You know, do you think normal people will understand? So make sure you write it in a plain language that people will understand. Okay, so that's the end of this video, and I hope you find this very helpful, and I really hope that you can really use it to minister to others. And I just can't wait, and share with me the stories that, you know, how you have run this group with someone else, and how you bless others. I would love to hear ideas and your feedbacks and the things that you've done, and share with me in this Facebook link. And I'll see you next time. Please stay tuned for other videos for different other crafts. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.